We know the meaning of Memorial Day. It's a day of reflection and remembrance, a day of subdued celebration of lives well lived, those who gave their last full measure in the defense of freedom. I hold no delusions that my words today could ever do justice to those who served and died in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, the two Gulf Wars, or today's global war on terror. Still, I consider it an honor that I was afforded the privilege of thanking all of our veterans here today for your service to our great nation. Please know that those of us who came after you, we're very grateful for what you did for us. And while I appreciate every veteran's contribution, you all have already heard, today we're especially honoring those who served in World War II. So my comments will be directed mostly that way. That's only fitting and proper because, gentlemen, you outrank us. You have the wisdom of years. In your generation, well, it's been set aside for special honors in our nation's history. Besides, there isn't one among us who didn't pretend to be you as a kid. We dug foxholes in our neighborhoods, we battled each other on the playgrounds, and of course we always emerged victorious against the bad guys. We might laugh about it today, but the truth is, every American who fought after you, we all tried to be like you in real life, whether it was in Korea, Vietnam, or the Gulf. We wanted to fight with your courage, your determination, your conviction. And it was the right thing to do, because the best way to honor those men and women who died for us is to follow their example of loyalty, duty, and courage in the defense of liberty. You know, time really doesn't diminish such things. Those are the eternal. Our veterans today assembled, well, you all understand this because you instinctively felt it every time you put on a uniform. Whether that was 68 years ago at Bataan or was last month in Kabul. Because of your experiences, well, you veterans know that Memorial Day is special, but you also recognize that the holiday, in many ways, it's out of sync with American culture today. You know, our society is obsessed with what's new, what's next, what does the future hold. Of course, the tendency to think this way, that's a luxury. It's a luxury that comes from living in a free society, a luxury that post-war and younger generations have enjoyed as a result of your sacrifices. Unfortunately, for many of the young today, life today has become compressed. You know, it's just a blur of obligations and activities. So life seems too short to reflect on things past or to honor those who went before us.
Filming. Okay.
But you all, with the advantage of experience, you know the Roman philosopher Seneca, he was right when he said, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. The men and women we honor today may have indeed had their lives cut short, but their years were well invested. They earned the highest achievement. They became our heroes. And in doing so, they taught us that a measure of a man is not determined in his years, but what he does with those years. And they spent their lives in service to others. And all of you veterans, you know this and you lived it because you saw it demonstrated on the battlefields of Europe and in the jungles of the Pacific. You lived it, you yourselves, when you led by example, when you put your men's safety ahead of your own. And you saw it demonstrated. You saw it demonstrated when that 19-year-old sergeant who lied about his age so he could get into the service said, no, sir, I'll go first. I'll take the point. That's an NCO's job. And he took the bullet that was meant for you. Or perhaps it was when that 27-year-old pilot, he stayed in the cockpit and he held that plane steady as the plane was going down so his crew could jump to safety. Or maybe it was when that young but already grizzled Navy engineer slammed the bulkhead door shut as water rushed in to save the lives of his men and his ship, knowing he himself would drown. These men are frozen in your memories, and they're all at a certain age. Many of them were hardly more than boys. But they were men of ability and talent. They weren't driven by ambition, they weren't driven by greed, or by pleasure, or by fame. They were driven by fixed principles and noble goals, and they were rare. The British writer and historian John Stuart Mill wrote, "A man who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing he cares more for than his own personal safety, well, he is a miserable creature who has no chance of being free." Those we honor today, they were the opposite of Mill's miserable creatures. Now, those we honor today, they were the mighty men of valor the Bible talks about. They not only died free, but they died having truly lived. They knew the toll. They knew the strength that came from a hard day of training. And they really understood it when the drill sergeant yelled at them, "Marine, pain is just weakness leaving the body." They knew the satisfaction of sweating today so their brothers wouldn't bleed tomorrow. And they knew the bond of love that develops among men joined in combat for a cause far bigger than they could even possibly know at the time. And that's why we commit ourselves to remembering these young men and women who in days past, they took an oath that meant something. They adopted an honor code to live by, and they accepted an eternal truth that there are some things worth dying for. By the way, as a corollary, I believe that as we remember them, we should also acknowledge another important sacrifice. You see, here in the crowd, there are many widows, children, and family members who may not have sacrificed their lives in defense of our nation, but with the death of their loved one, they sacrificed a lifetime of happiness, and that too is worthy of honorable recognition. So today, we celebrate those who sacrificed and died for us, for our children, our grandchildren. They sought justice and security for those who were weak and defenseless. And because of what they did, they gave us an example of what we could be, and so they live on. And now please bear with me as I show you that their sacrifice was not in vain. Squad,